Hello everyone, welcome back to our next aptitude session. And in today's topic, we are having something called as deductions. So, let us see what deductions are and how we're supposed to solve them, or what is the approach that we're supposed to use, and all of that. So, when it comes to deductions, they will give you one or two logic statements, all right? And from these statements, what you have to do is draw a conclusion. That conclusion, what you draw, will be your answer. And your options will consist of nothing but few conclusions itself, all related to the given statements. And you will have to tell which one is correct or which conclusion is correct based on the logic. So, what is the logic? We will see now. So few points or few things you have to keep in mind is one is premises. The statements that they give to you in the question as statement 1, statement 2, or statement A, statement B, and so on. Those statements from which you are going to draw conclusions. They are called as premises. And they are generally denoted by small p. If there are more number of premises, small p, q, r, s, it goes on. Sometimes they can also be denoted as P1, P2, P3, and so on. And all of these will be in small letters. Premises are always and always denoted using small letters. So the next thing you have to know is qualifiers or quantifiers. They are nothing but attributes or something that can describe your premises. Okay. Example words such as are, for example, all cats are dogs. So that word are becomes a qualifier or a quantifier. They're the same. It means the same. And the next thing is subject and predicate. So whenever a premise is given to you, the first part of it, the first object that comes in it will be a subject. The second object will be a predicate. As I told you the example, all cats are dogs. So when you tell all cats are dogs, the first object is cats. So cats become subject. The second objects are dogs. So dogs become your predicate. And there is something called as middle term. The term that occurs in more than one premise will be called as your middle term. For now, we'll be dealing only with two premises. So those terms or those subject or predicate or whichever among the two are repeated in both the premises or in all of the given premises or in more than one premise, then they are called as middle term. For example, all cats are dogs, all cats are pigs. So the word cats or that subject cats is repeated in both premises as a subject itself. So that will become the middle term. If you had all dogs are cats, all cats are pigs. So in the first premise, all dogs are cats, dog is a subject, cat is a predicate. In the second premise, cat is the subject, pigs are the predicate. So cat has come in the first premise as predicate, in the second premise as subject. It is repeated in both the premises, so it will become the middle term. Middle term, irrespective of whether it is a subject or a predicate, that doesn't matter. We will see only if it is distributed or if it is coming in both the premises or in more than one premise. And answer is nothing but conclusion. So what will be your final answer? Nothing but the conclusion that you will draw from it. We will see to that once we start solving problems, you will understand what is the answer or what is the conclusion that you're supposed to draw from it. The next thing is premises can be classified as universal or particular statements and positive or negative statements. So when we talk about universal, we mean to say words which are, the premise which start with the word all or synonyms of all, such as all, every, and so on. When we talk about particular statements, we are talking about those premises which start with some, few, many. That is giving you an idea that it is not the complete thing, but a part of the thing. That is particular. Something which gives you an idea that it is a complete set that is being involved, then it becomes a universal statement. Positive and negative, basic English. If negative words like no, not, don't, do not, and all come in the premises, then it is going to turn out to be a negative premise or negative statement. If otherwise, it's going to be a positive statement. Positive statements are also known as affirmation or affirmative statement. And the last part is distributed or not distributed. That we will see based on the kind of premise that is given, that is, whether it is a particular or universal statement, and on the same basis, if it is a positive or negative statement. Keeping these two parameters, we will decide if the subject or respective predicate is distributed or not distributed. So, is this
Ma,
clear with everyone? Yeah, tell me.
last one, distributed and non-distributed. Can you repeat it again, ma'am?
We will be deciding if the subject or the given predicate in the premise is distributed or not based on the type of premise it is. Whether it is a universal or particular statement, even if it is universal or particular, is it a positive or negative statement? All these four parameters will be taken into consideration. Two of them will definitely come. One is either universal or particular, the other will be positive or negative. Every statement should have one of these two categories for sure. So two things
Okay,
are
ma'am.
for sure, the kind of statement and the positive or the negative part of the statement. So
Yes,
based
ma'am.
on that, we will decide if it is distributed or not with respect to the subject or the predicate.
Yes, ma'am.
Are all of you clear with this much? These are your basics.
Yes, ma'am.
Others?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If it is clear, then we'll move to the next slide. Or the next thing that you have to know is about the symbols or the notation that is used. So when we talk about universal statements and if they are affirmative, okay, that is if they are positive, then an example is all. So it is represented using A, capital A. And the same universal statement, when it is negative, it is represented using E. Similarly, particular statement, the representation symbol is 1 for affirmative, 0 for negative. For now, we'll not be using it, but if we are dealing with certain, subjects like discrete mathematical structures or DMS, you will find such kind of requirement when it comes to exams like GATE, for example. GATE, I think probably even most of the governmental exams that you take up, like ISRO, DRDO, and so on, they will have, definitely you will have the subject called DMS. There will be questions based on that. So once you start learning how to solve these, you'll be able to solve those as well. For now, we are sticking on to only what is required in the deductions part of aptitude. And the next thing you have to know is the distribution. So the second table talks about the distribution. So if the statement is universal affirmative, then the subject is distributed. The tick mark represents the distributed, it is distributed, and the cross mark represents that it is not distributed. So in universal affirmative statement, the subject is distributed, predicate is not distributed. Universal negative statement, subject is distributed, predicate is also distributed. In particular affirmative statements, subject is not distributed, predicate is also not distributed. Particular negative statement, subject is not distributed, predicate is distributed. Is this clear with you all? This table you have to keep in mind. Based on these, we will be deciding on the questions, on the conclusions. So this is clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then we'll move on to an example and let's see how we'll have to deal with the example. So the first example, all dogs are cats and all cats are pigs. So I want you guys to tell me which is the subject and which is the predicate in each of these premises.
Cats are subjects and dogs are subject, cats are predicates.
In premise 1,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
In premise, cats are subject and pigs are predicates. And the
correct,
middle term is
right. Good, you identified that the middle term is cats. So now whenever you draw a conclusion or whenever you're getting your answer or conclusion, the middle term should not come. The other terms
okay.
should be involved in your conclusion. Now, before we
Okay.
move on to the conclusion, tell me if this is a universal or particular statement, if it is positive or negative. Which one is it?
Universal positive, ma'am. Affirmative. Universal affirmative, I think.
Which one? You have to tell the premise number. You have to be very precise.
Both the precise are universal.
Premise.
Aff-
Right. So both premise 1 is universal affirmative and premise 2 is also universal affirmative. So in this case, what should we decide? The subject is distributed or not distributed?
It is distributed, ma'am.
Yes, so the subject is distributed. Predicate is distributed or not distributed?
It is, no, ma'am. It is distributed.
Check the table. Universal affirmative. Predicate
Not
is
distributed.
not distributed.
Yes, ma'am.
So the predicate here in both the statements, since both are universal affirmative, both the
Yes,
predicates
ma'am.
are not distributed.
Yes, ma'am.
So what do we, so our conclusion should consist of dogs and pigs. Why? Because cats is the middle term. So in this case, in dogs and pigs, dogs is distributed. Yes. Pigs are distributed. No. So in this case, this your dogs should be your subject, or it should follow the same order. All right, it should follow the same order. Premise 1, whatever element you get will be your subject. Premise 2, whatever element you get will be your predicate in your conclusion as well. It will follow the order of 1 and 2 and only then it will go. So now tell me which kind of statement has subject is distributed, predicate is not distributed.
Predicate is not distributed, ma'am.
But subject is distributed.
No statement. Ma'am.
It is universal affirmative. Just now you said that.
Yes, ma'am. But
It should. So, are you clear that your final conclusion should also be universal affirmative?
yes, ma'am.
Right. So, if it is universal, what should be your initial quantifier? What should be your initial statement, or how should it begin?
All.
Yes, or the synonym every. So, since they have already given all, we'll follow the same. Whatever is given in the premise, we'll try to follow the same. So, you will have
Yes, ma'am.
all followed by subject. So, all
Yes, ma'am.
dogs. And what is it? It is affirmative. So what should come
Yes,
here
ma'am.
as your qualifier or quantifier?
Are.
Right. So all dogs are followed by your predicate that is pigs. All dogs are pigs. This will be your conclusion.
Dogs are pigs. Okay, ma'am.
Are all of you clear with this example? You want me to repeat anything? How about others? Anybody wants me to repeat anything or are you clear? Because next statement will go confusing. The next example at least.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If it is clear, then this is how you're supposed to draw conclusion. This is supposed to be there in one of your options. Let us say it is not there in any of the given options. Then by default, you'll have the last option as none of the above or none of these or none of the following or something like that. So that
Yes,
will
ma'am.
be your answer if the actual conclusion derived is not the part of your options given. So that is the whole importance or the whole and sole reason why we have to solve these deduction questions. All right, we
Yes, ma'am.
cannot directly look into the options and eliminate because your options will consist of the same. All dogs are pigs, all dogs are not pigs, some dogs are pigs, some dogs are not pigs. It will be all in this way. So you cannot eliminate your option so easily as long as you don't deduce it. Fine. So we'll move to the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, the next we have premise 1, all cats are dogs. Premise 2, all cats are pigs. So tell me which is the subject, which is the predicate, and middle term.
Cat subject and dogs is the predicate. And
Right.
again cat subject
Hmm.
and pig it.
Right. So middle term.
Cat
Right. Okay. So
and
tell me.
quantifier.
Yeah.
It's a universal affirmative statement. Both the
Princess.
ma'am?
Premises.
Premises. Both the premises are universal affirmatives.
Right. So what will be the distribution of subject and predicate?
Distribution, non-distribution.
And tell if subject is distributed or not distributed, predicate is distributed or not distributed.
Subject is distributed, predicate is not distributed.
Right. So since both the statements are of the same kind, we'll follow the same.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
in this case, what all should come? Once again, dogs and pigs only should follow in your conclusion because cats is your middle term.
Hmm.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So in this, which will be your subject, which will be your predicate from the conclusion? Dogs and pigs.
Dogs will be subject.
Right.
Pig will be predicate.
Wonderful. So in this case, from the given premise, is our actual conclusion subject, that is dogs, is it distributed or not distributed?
Not distributed.
Good. And what about our predicate pigs? Is it distributed or
Not,
not distributed?
not
Right.
distributed.
So if subject and predicate both are not distributed, your conclusion is which type of statement?
Particular affirmative.
Affirmative.
Clear, it is particular affirmative.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah, so it is particular affirmative. So if it is particular affirmative, if it is particular, how will you start?
Particular, some, few, many.
Right.
Dogs, pigs.
Yes. So universally, we will follow with some. It is okay even if you are starting with few, or you can, you can start with few as well. Again, all of these depend on your answer choices. So for now, let's keep some. So some followed by subject. What is the subject? Dogs. Some dogs. What will be your quantifier? Because it's
Are.
positive affirmative, particular affirmative.
Are
Oh,
only, ma'am.
yes. So
Are.
some dogs are followed by your
Pigs.
predicate. Right.
Pig.
That is pigs.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you guys clear till here? This will be your conclusion.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you clear till here about subject, predicate, premises, quantifiers or qualifiers, their symbols or notation, the table? Table you will have to by heart. Might take some time, but you will have to memorize it. You will not be provided in the exam.
Okay,
All right.
ma'am.
Yeah. So clear
Yes,
with
ma'am.
how to identify, how to draw conclusion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. No
Yes, ma'am.
confusion in example 1 and example 2 because same
No, ma'am.
statements will be repeating in the further sessions and we'll be just alternating here and there from being universal to particular, affirmative to negative. We'll only work on all these things.
Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Fine. If you guys have no doubts, then fine. Thank you for attending today's session and let's meet in tomorrow's session.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.